All right. Hey, everybody. It's August 23rd, 2023, and we are back after a couple weeks hiatus for Plutus PBL live coding. What's going on?
Hey. I'm stoked.
Hey.
I'm stoked. I've saved up. It's the summer's coming to a close. It's like getting back to school season. I'm ready to like put on my thinking cap and build some stuff.
I'm a former high school teacher, and I unapologetically just love September. I have always loved September. I love here in the Northern Hemisphere how it cools off a little bit. I love taking all those summer vibes and just kind of getting back into some routines. It's just love this time of year. It's good to be here with everybody, kicking it off. So thank you. What we do here at Live Coding is we get together at 14:30 UTC every Wednesday and Thursday to talk through progress on the Plutus PBL course that Gimbal Labs provides for free. And so for anybody who's checking out this video and maybe isn't aware, this is the Plutus PBL site at plutuspbl.io. And anybody is welcome to drop in here and get started on a course. What's the course all about? Well, you can read about it right here, and you can see a list of the modules that we are covering in the course. We started publishing these modules back in March of 2023, and people have been working through these at their own pace. And you can see that 168 people have minted tokens to start the course. You can see how many people have completed each of these modules successively. But you can also see, if I go over here to the distribute demo, that there's a bunch of people who just put in their commitments to module 204. Now, I got a little bit of detective work to do here, but this is exactly what we wanted to get to with the system we're building. Because in some cases, you'll see that people have completed all the modules successively. If you're familiar with the lucky number assignment, you'll see that lucky numbers start at 5. And so here's an example. Rahat, we know, has been to live coding a bunch of times, changed his lucky number from 5 to 6, and has a commitment here for module 202. As you can see, you could do it in any order. He actually completed module 204 already and has been going back and working on these other ones. But there's a couple of recent commitments to 204 from folks who haven't changed their lucky number yet and just jumped right in. And so we invite people to do that as a quick on-ramp. If there's developers who are already experienced and just want to get to this point, people are welcome to do that. But I got to go check the Git repo to make sure that these are working, and then we'll distribute these commitments. Okay. And once we do, as you can see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 commitments to module 204. And that's going to take us from 8 completions to 13. That's over the finish line. What we're trying to do is get 12 people to complete module 204, at which point we'll start to release the 300 level modules. And the good news is it looks like it's time for that. That doesn't mean anybody has to hurry. Okay, you can still move at your own pace. And when we get into the 300 level modules, one of the things we're going to do is learn how the contracts work, the Plutus code that makes this system right here work. We're going to take a deep dive into this, okay? Because when you do make a commitment, and when on the teacher end, we distribute that commitment back to you, both of those are Cardano transactions that are enabled by some smart contracts that we're going to look at together. The other thing we're going to do in the 300 level modules, let's go to the course outline once again, is we're not just going to look at Plutus. We're also validators, and then so this module is almost ready to be published, and it looks like it's time. So we'll get this one published ASAP. Then we'll take a deep dive into some of the on-chain code that makes this system work. And then we'll look at Aiken and Plutus. And the lens we're going to take for looking at these other smart contract programming languages is we're going to look at two contracts that you're already going to be familiar with. One, we're going to implement the PPBL faucet that's already been implemented in Plutus TX in these other languages. So we'll implement the faucet in Aiken, we'll implement the faucet in Plutus. And so what you can expect in modules 303 and 304 is that you'll get to look at a different smart contract language for a contract that you've already seen a little bit of how to use. Okay. And then we'll do the same thing for these commitment and distribute transactions in those languages as well. So that's all coming up, and it looks like just in time. As September hits, you'll start to see these 300 level modules rolling out. So that's really exciting. I want to reiterate one more time, that doesn't mean anybody has to hurry, right? We're all moving at our own pace. And that's really what we're here for on Wednesdays and Thursdays. So if we go back to this board right here, this is the Miro board. The link is in the chat. Let me drop that in again. And what we do on this Miro board, if you scroll down to the bottom, if I scroll out for just a second, you can see we've been doing this for a while, for a couple months. And the way the agenda of these live coding sessions work is anybody is welcome to ask a question. You can either unmute on this Zoom call and just speak up, or you can drop a sticky note here on the Miro board, or you can just write a question in the chat and we'll make sure it goes here. And we usually spend, somewhere between 5 and 15 minutes giving some updates, asking some questions, talking about where we're at. And then we'll do a quick vote on how we want to focus today. And we'll do a deep dive into one or more of the questions that people have brought to this meeting. Any questions at a high level about how PPBL live coding sessions work? All right. Let's jump into the nitty gritty. So let's jump into questions. Okay, so yeah, a few questions in the chat. Faizan, 100%. So what's going to happen with Andamio? As we've talked about with some of you, and this is a big part of what Gimbal Labs is doing with Project Catalyst. We're building a platform called Andamio, and the Plutus PBL course is the alpha version or the prototype of this platform that we're building. And what Andamio is more generally is it's a learning management system built upon Cardano. Okay. And so everything we're doing here with modules and learning targets and lessons and commitments, all of that's going to be built in a way that anybody can create a different sort of course rather than Plutus PBL, fill in the blank PBL to onboard people to your project or your organization. And a big part of what we want to get to here, is kind of exposing you to how Andamio works. That's why we're going to look at the commitment and distribution transactions in modules 301 through 304. We're also going to be able to use those to look at mesh and some of the off-chain stuff that has to happen to build a real application, okay? And as we do that, you're going to start to get some background knowledge about how Andamio works in the first place. And then as we roll it out, there will be, we might not cover all of Andamio here in these live coding sessions, but we'll start to have some special sessions for that as well. just to expose people to that. So yeah, much more to come on that. And to Faizan's other question, module 300, I have to check in. We have a couple other folks building that module. Janti has been leading that, for anybody who knows him, from Goma Pool. So I just got to check in with him. I think he's ready to go. We might just be able to press a button and deploy it. But let's just say for safety, let's say by September 1st, next Friday, at the latest, module 301 will be published. Okay. But I hope to have it out to you guys before that. What other questions do folks have? Whether it's something you're working on, something you're struggling with, or just any other kind of questions about what we're doing here. How's it going?
Just question. Could we let the opening of the module 300 for September? Definitely not before, because I know people that want to finish the 200 levels and start cleaning the 300.
Should we make it a nice clean, like say we're going to release it? Is September 1st too early, you think?
No, it's perfect. The idea is not before the September, because some people want to start September with the 300 module.
I like it. That would be nice. And then that means we can keep August. We'll just celebrate summer for 8 more days, and then drop module 301. Okay, let's say it's official. Let's release module 301 on September 1st. So that'll be next Friday.
Fantastic.
So if you're caught up, that means you gotta like catch the next flight to the beach and just chill for a few more days before you jump.
Sounds good.
Thanks, Seb.
I just wanted to comment something more general. I have been using Aiken this last month, and I think that is so sweet language to learn. I really think that it's a cool tool because you can run your project seamlessly. It's easy to grasp the language. So although many people wanted to learn Plutus TX, maybe we want to reevaluate that as a student, because there we have a powerful tool also. And personally, I find this moment very exciting because now we feel like the developer experience is more mature in the Cardano ecosystem. Whereas in the time before, I remember that all the people were struggling with the language and so on, and now we are with a lot of tools. So this moment is very exciting. What's going on?
I agree completely. Yeah, and it's so exciting. I have no idea what's going to happen, right? Like, what's 2 years from now, what's the most popular smart contract programming language going to be, right? It might be Aiken, and we're going to find out together. So yeah, I'm so fired up to take what we've done so far. And anybody who's been working through the course, you know that in the 100 and 200 level modules, we haven't actually written that much smart contract code yet. And that's on purpose, okay? Because there's a lot of scaffolding we need just to get to the point of kind of really seeing the whole picture of where smart contracts fit. And once you understand that picture, you start to see that actually the smart contract code is a small piece of it. You know, if you just counting by the number of lines of code, right? The user interface, the front end or the web page for your application is going to be many more lines of code than the smart contract itself, okay? And so what we've been trying to do is give you kind of the whole picture of that. Start to see these processes, bang your head against the Cardano node and your Nix development environment, right? Get that stuff, get a feel for why you need it, compile a contract, get a feel for how to use that contract. And once you've got that, writing the contracts itself is a delight. It's so much fun. Like we're going to have so many fun conversations about just smart contract logic. And we're right there. We're just about to jump into that. And as we do, we're going to do it in a few different languages: Plutus TX, Aiken, PluTS. And along the way, everybody's going to find out which language they like the most. And we might all agree on that. We might all say, oh, why have I done anything but Aiken? Yeah, we're Aiken all the way, right? But we might have differences, and that would be beautiful too. There's going to be a subset of people over here who want to focus on this way of doing things versus that way of doing things. And that's the beauty of this distributed ecosystem we're building, right? There has to be options. And so we're going to, yeah, we get to assess them together over the next few months. Exciting times.
It's cool.
Let's go. What have you built so far, Augustine, in Aiken?
I'm using Aiken to build a side project that hopefully present some in the future in the playground, and I rewritten some contracts of this course in Aiken.
Awesome.
If maybe I can do a pull request there.
Without a doubt. Okay, so one of the we actually have two proposals, one written by our team and one spearheaded by students right here. Harsha and Newman, thank you. We have two Catalyst proposals just for getting ADA into a student treasury so that people right here can get some funding for this kind of work. And one of the things I would love to do if those proposals go through is have incentives for people to actually start teaching some parts of this course. That's going to be such an exciting way to contribute. So if you've already been rewriting some of the contracts here in Aiken, I hope that's something that you get some rewards from a Catalyst sourced treasury for. It'd be a really nice way to build a feedback loop that I hope can be reused over time.
It will be really cool. Although I think that if I can share, give back what this course have given me, it's more than enough.
Appreciate that. Thanks.
Love it.
Zeb, what were you going to say?
No, incentivizing the contributions of the students is the future of education, because but that kind of contribution that turns the students in teachers, and the students tend to let to us without work, and that's the goal. For example, I have to say, I remember in this moment, a teacher from Gimba Labs, Alex. Alex will participate in the next Cardano Foundation hackathon, and he promised share some of the prizes of the hackathon if he wins. Share that prize in money to the treasury of Gimba Labs to provide compensation to the students. So I think in that respect we have a solid intention of start compensating the students for their work, and that's a promise. So congratulations.
It's very cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Share the proposal. So in the link if you can.
Of course. Yeah. Let me get that.
Thank you.
Just a closing thought about the hiking. I thought that, like you said, James, it's little code, and for me, although I love Haskell and I have nothing against, but for people that want to start, I think that doesn't make sense to learn a lot of Haskell just to write a bunch of it. And in the context of the course, you probably to learn Haskell, you have to learn just Haskell, because it's one of the language that you have to like study it with a book. It's like that type of language. So I think if it's great to have options, but if we focus more in Icon, I think that the course could be a lot more integral, like more balanced in that sense.
Yeah. I agree completely. You know what? A good thought experiment for all of us is, we know about Marlowe, right? And so Marlowe is built to make it possible for anybody who has professional expertise, right? You're a finance expert and you want to be able to implement some smart contracts for financial tooling that you already understand. You're not going to learn Haskell. You're going to use Marlowe, which gives you just a subset of this highly functional, ready to go contracts, right? And so if Marlowe is over here in terms of high usability, and you've got Plutus TX and Haskell at the other end of the continuum, right? Where, yeah, you've got to learn enough Haskell to be able to build with that. But if you do, there's some pretty deep stuff. There's some pretty interesting systems you can build. If you draw a line between those, where's Aiken on that line? Right? It's somewhere in between Plutus TX and Marlowe. And for all of us to think about that's going to help us think about, okay, who's Aiken for? And where do we want to be encouraging people to use it?
Yes, we have to experiment and hope that we discuss this topic and have some conclusions at the end of the course.
Yeah.
About this.
Testing. Is that Dagwell?
It is Dagwell. What's up, man?
Hey.
I'm excited about Marlowe simply because of that. Like, really, can you hear me? Yeah. Because of that, like, really, there are a lot of financial experts that are thinking, in their own language, and that this is a bridge. And is Marlowe, is it kind of a block kind of thing? Is it that type of, like, where you do like Scratch or programming language, like, or blocky? I think I've heard it. Is it something like that?
It can be, but it doesn't have to be.
I see.
And one of the beautiful things about Blockly is it works until it doesn't. Okay, so as you're learning how smart contracts work, being able to piece it together by putting these blocks together is a great experience. And then you get to the point where vertically it doesn't fit on your screen anymore. And you're repeating yourself and you're like, oh, I wish there was an easier way. And that's where we come in and we say, actually, writing a line of code is the easier way. This is called a for loop. Okay, like, yeah, you're not going to become a full-time developer, but now that you understand the concepts via Blockly, you can understand a few simple lines that will help you write concise code for what you want to accomplish. Has anybody here done like the Marlowe pioneers or looked deeply into that code?
I did the Marlowe SDK from workshop, maybe. That SDK that you did in the workshop.
Yeah, it's come a long way since then. Am I remembering? I think I recall that you can actually write in Marlowe directly from JavaScript, but I want to check myself on that.
No, it was just the blocky template.
You looked at the Blockly part.
Yeah, that it was really good.
I haven't touched. It's been months since I've looked at Marlowe. Maybe we can schedule, like, we do these sessions, these open live coding sessions, but every once in a while we have an agenda. Maybe sometime in September or October, we can dedicate a live coding session just to looking at Marlowe together. Could be fun. What else?
Yeah.
What are people looking at or struggling with right now?
I'm on module 201, finishing it up and starting module 202, and that's the one with the smart PBL playground, and working with React and components. And that really is like a Vista point where it's like, oh wow, all of this sort of front end, and basically I've gotten down and was digging into really understanding the dependencies and the package managers. I got into a little bit of a rabbit hole between npm and yarn. I got enough to be like, oh yeah, just from the way yarn installs and the interface and the messaging that it gives you, I was like, oh, I could see that yarn would be better to use. And so I'm on this sort of trip of like, okay, how do I speak fluently npm and yarn, so that, because you run into documentation that just says npm and you're like, okay, I've got to, what exactly is it doing? And it's, the opportunity is there to really dig into like what is going on with those dependencies and lock files and, just some good Linux backend commands and all that. So yeah, that's sort of an update for me.
I'm so glad you're taking the time for that. Thanks. And this is the kind of thing, like, speaking of like bicycle metaphors, you do it once, then you know it, and it does take that overhead time the first time. And once you got it, you're like, all right, cool.
Well, I will tell you that in the last few weeks, like, working with, because it's like you get your own bicycle fixed, and then when kids in the neighborhood are like, oh, my freewheel is jacked, and you're like, well, I mean, I just put mine on and it worked. I don't even know what to tell you. But I'm like, oh, actually, there's some cool mechanics going on in a freewheel, or there's cool mechanics going on in the node. And it really does help me. I just feel like that's like a good, happy, healthy home for me. Like understanding this sort of startup process, and yeah, so I'm resonating with it. It feels good to me. Yeah.
Awesome. And you realize that it's a matter of taste in some ways, just like what does the command line dialogue look like on npm install versus yarn install? And
Yeah.
it doesn't matter, like, yeah, whichever one you like better is the right answer, right? Like,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
But there are some other things under the hood. I actually ran into a problem because on my dev box right here, I upgraded yarn to like yarn 3 point something, which is a big like breaking change. And
Right.
yarn, long story short, yarn's philosophy changed entirely on how it worked. And that some projects I was working on, it was impossible to use them. And I had to actually revert back to yarn 1 point something, which is called yarn classic now. And so you might run into this yarn classic versus new yarn distinction. Pay attention for that. And I just want people to know, if you're new to this, like, yarn classic is very much still in play. And you don't have to upgrade to like yarn 3. But yeah, that's a deeper thing we could talk more about. But for now, that's the headline.
Oh man. Yeah, I did run across that.
Erez, what's happening?
Yeah, yeah. Hey, I wanted to share that I was having problems with getting the Cardano node to sync up properly, and instead of syncing forward every time I would query the tip, it was going backwards. So, which meant that the chain was not updating properly. So, after uninstalling the Cardano node and reinstalling several times, I kept having this problem. And we talked a little bit about in the live coding when Newman was helping to lead it like a few weeks ago. And it turned out that I had kind of like a hidden Cardano node in the Nix build folder. So I had to go and delete all of that. And then once I did that and reinstalled Cardano node, then since then it's been working fine.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. And so you have a synced pre-prod node at this point?
Yeah,
Yeah.
pre-pro and preview. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome.
So-
Awesome. And you said you wrote some documentation on that?
Yeah, it's in the, I think it's the student chat
Okay.
channel. Yeah. And I'm wondering, do you need a GHC up in order to have Cardano node running, or is that just like an extra thing?
You don't need GHC up to use Cardano node, but one option for Cardano node is to build it from source rather than just downloading it. Okay. And if you try to build it from source, this is where the NIX versus GHC approach, you get those two options. Okay. Let's take a quick look at Cardano node repo, GitHub, Cardano node. So in the documentation for Cardano node, you can see like here's obtaining Cardano node, right? And you can either build it from source or you can just download the executable. And so if I go here to the release notes, I can see that depending on my, what are we on? That's a pre-release. Assets right here. Here they are, right? So just like you can download Zoom, right? You can download Cardano node and it's already built for your operating system. Okay. Or you can take the approach of building it from source. And you have both of those options. If you try to build from source, it just took me to the same page. Where are we? Let's try this link. If you try to build from source, now you've got two options, to do it with Cabal or to do it with NIX. And if you try to build node with Cabal, this is where you will need GHC up, I think.
Yeah.
Is that
I
true?
found the first option. What was that one called? Building from just a file?
Building, oh, so if you just install the executable,
Executable.
yeah.
I found that the easiest.
Yeah, oh, definitely the easiest, right? Because you're basically any program, right? Any open source program. Let's imagine Zoom was completely open source. You would just be able to go to a Git repo, download the files, and then build it. And that's what's happening, right? Or you can just trust somebody else to have built it for you. And that's really what you're doing when you download the executable. You're saying, yeah, like, okay, the keepers, IOHK, who's running this Cardano node repository, I trust them to build just a program for me that I could just download that program and run it. Or I could say, well, I either don't trust them or I want to do it myself because I want to learn something. I can go through this process and build it myself. But what's the end result of that? The end result is just an executable that I could have downloaded anyway, right? I recommend trying this process. It's a good test for yourself to see if you can pull this off. I've never done it with NIX, I'll admit. But I learned a lot about how the Haskell tool chain works by using this process right here.
Yeah.
But if it becomes too much of a headache, that you decide how much time you want to sink into this. Some people have very limited time. And maybe this is not, you decide it's not the best use of your time to build a node. You'd rather just download the executable and get running. That's fine, right? And by the way, anybody who's ever used Daedalus Wallet, you are running Cardano node under the hood of that. And if you've ever been frustrated by how long it takes Daedalus to sync up, the beauty, the reason for that delay is that you are running a node and you're keeping a copy of the Cardano blockchain. And by doing so, you're actually contributing to the resilience of the network, because there's yet another copy of this financial ledger that we are all depending on. Okay, and the more copies of that ledger that exist, the more fail-proof the network is.
Cool. Great explanation. Thanks. And I just want to say it was really cool watching when we were doing it with Newman and Faizan to go through and to learn the steps. So now I see, now it makes more sense, the different ways of doing it. So yeah, cool. Thanks.
Awesome, man. Yeah, and I'll say from personal experience, like, you know, I do it this way still because I just like checking my understanding. And every time I install a new version of Node from source, I'll see something here. I'll be like, like N curses, that's just been nonsense to me for the entire time I've been a Cardano developer. But now I finally understand what it is. Oh, cool. Like I know why that exists, right? And it's kind of fun just to read through this and be like, oh, last time I just took their word for it. But now I know. And that's kind of neat to give yourself that opportunity once every couple of months to say, hey, how far have I come?
I'm kind of curious to do it from the executable now, because I want to see where, because that was one of the big things. We were like, oh, it installs. We did some great troubleshooting together, Faizan, Erez, and I, and it seems like there was a couple. Oh, Adrian came in and helped out, and you know, we saw where things were installed, and we're like, oh, and then remember there was like, which is the most current way they're doing it. It was fun. It was like a real caper. I felt like we were in the Scooby-Doo and like finding the bad guys in the amusement park. So it was fun.
That's cool. So is that a canned session that you guys can run for noobs every 3 months or so?
You know, that's what I thought of too. I was just like, everyone should go on a Scooby-Doo adventure to get this thing running on in their amusement park.
Well, and so to go back to contribution, okay. For Augustine, we mentioned before, like, here's maybe one way that somebody can contribute, like help build this 300 level module. But another way to build out opportunities for contribution, I think that a lot of these modules are going to be out of date soon.
Yeah.
Which sucks. They're only 5 months old. How are they out of date already? Gosh darn it. You know, but like that's how fast this ecosystem is moving, and keeping these up to date is going to be real work. So I would love for there to be an opportunity to contribute there. And when it comes to building transactions, when it comes to installing your node for the first time, whatever you guys have learned about turning this into a caper, let's apply it. Let's make that part of the course. That's incredible.
Well, you know, when I first learned about open source software, free and open source software, that's what I thought that I would be as a user / contributor / owners, member, community member, like users groups were like the big thing, like way back in the day, and shareware land, right? I figured like busting and fixing things as a user was just sort of like, that was the price I paid, or like I took the effort to fix things as I went. And you're right, these things go out of date like tremendously fast, especially in this time in the ecosystem. And so learning how to do that, learning how to be a contributor, working with the processes and workflows. And that being said, like I did find, because they changed the documentation and some of our links were broken, and I tried to like highlight and fix those, but I got to some degree in there, but it was the Nix and Cabal documentation. It seems like they took it off of their GitHub repo and they put it onto Cardano, like a Cardano like docs.cardano.
Oh, cool. Yeah. So we got to update that.
Yeah,
That-
yeah.
That's awesome. And so, right, to be really clear, we're talking about creating ways for people to contribute.
Yeah.
And writing brand new code is just one way to be a contributing developer, right? Is it an important way? Of course it is, right? But there's going to be a lot of different ways to contribute. I think the biggest change to the PBL framework since we've been using it is that we're realizing that really specializing and contributing are really combined, right? They don't happen in sequence, they happen together.
Yeah.
Right. And so we're going to have to change this little graphic right here to show that these two things are always happening. We bring people in, we build up background knowledge, and then people start to specialize by contributing. The other thing is, the fifth step in this process is governance. And what's going to happen is we're either going to get this catalyst funding or we're not, right? So maybe we'll have some funds to play with in a treasury. But even if we don't, we have about 10,000 ADA sitting in the Gimbal pool rewards account that even if Catalyst fails, we're going to use that 10,000 ADA, right? It's not enough for anybody to make a living on, but symbolically, it's the least we can do if Catalyst fails.
Yeah.
And if we do that, whatever amount is in that treasury, we're going to have to decide how to use it. And
Right.
together, that's basically, we're going to engage together in a BBK on how to govern those limited funds. That's going to be really exciting. How much of that treasury goes towards revision tasks for 100 and 200 level modules? How much of that treasury goes towards writing 300 level modules? How much of it goes towards early development tasks? We get to decide, okay? And that's going to be a prototype of governance that everybody here gets to do together. We're going to then be able to encode some of that in some contracts as we start to roll out some governance functionality to accompany all of the Andamio contracts. So something to look forward to. And I'm really excited that we get to do that work together, right? And that's real contribution. And there's a lot of contributions people are going to make to those processes that have nothing to do with writing code, right? We're building systems together.
Yeah. I like that. That's the way to say it. We're building systems together, and governance systems is a big part of community work. It's a big part of it. And I never really realized after the summer of governance, like now I see that these are, oh geez, your phrase, you just said it right. I was going to take a note, but I forgot. But we're deciding where, it becomes a prototype of governance. It's beautiful.
Exciting times. All right, so what's giving people headaches right now? What else has been added here? Why writing Plutus code from Haskell is difficult? Marlowe, Haskell, and Athenian. Yeah, Blockley. I missed everybody too. I don't know when this one is from, but yeah, we don't know what this group is going to feel like a month and 6 months from now, okay? And we get to decide together how much this becomes like a team of people working together and how much we become a collective of people all kind of orbiting around different projects and supporting each other. What exactly the shape of it is, we get to define in the months to come. But at the end of the day, I would love just to feel like we're supporting each other. So whenever anybody has ideas, if there's something you want to experiment with at a live coding session, for building up our group dynamic with each other, for feeling like we're aligned towards goals, please don't hesitate to share that stuff, because that's a big thing we're doing here too. One thing I could propose for today is we could take an early look at the Plutus code behind the contribution and the distribution transactions. And we could start just building up our understanding of that from like the high level view in a way that prepares us for the deep dives that are coming up in the 300 level modules. And so that's something elegant we could do in the time that we have left today. And yeah, it would start to be an answer to that question, like why is it difficult to write this code? Like we could look at that. But I don't want to jump to that without hearing other status updates or problems that folks are bringing to the table. What else do you have?
I think I think Faizan is still, we still got node to do.
Okay.
If we don't do that today, I would definitely say tomorrow. And it may be I do have a hard stop at noon in my time in 30 minutes or so. So it may be that one might be for tomorrow, and we'll just sort of like put the stake in the ground out there, and then he and I can just get going right when we start.
Awesome. Faizan, what's your status with running the node?
Yeah, he's typed in the chat that
Okay.
yep, no issue, meaning that he's okay with, I think, going.
Oh, so you're building from source and running into some problems there.
Hey Faizan, have we tried doing the executable? Because honestly, it's funny because I'm more scared. Let's try that, and maybe we can even do that, because I was sort of scared to uninstall or like just find all of the folders, because I was like, I don't know what folders are being installed, and the folders look funny with a dot, or they're in different folder. It's just, I was still getting to understand the layout of a Linux system, and I've got the double of being on this Windows machine running WSL, and that throws in another layer because we're basically remoting into a terminal. However, I'm getting more familiar with it. And, Faizan, maybe we want to just, in the next time we've got left, or either today or tomorrow, we'll start with the executable. We'll just delete all of the stuff that we can find that is Cardano node. And I feel like I kind of understand what's in there. And then just try the executable, even if just to see, because we understand that executable is just a bunch of scripts doing what we were doing by hand, and we can see what folders they create, where it goes in, and I can help with that. That'll be a lot of fun for me.
You guys want to try that right now?
Let's do it.
Executable running.
Yeah. Let's try it with the executable.
Great. Mr. G had his hand up for a sec. Dagwell, what's up?
Hey, how you guys doing?
What's up?
It's good to hear your voice.
Man, it's good to be here, guys. I'd love just to come in and see that you're still going strong, man, after I'm now getting my head out of like just the debbing, oh my God, all the time. So now I'm like, but something that I wanted to do, say when building the node, I think they updated. I kind of went to war in like a GitHub repo, like back and forth. But especially after you do the step 256, you wanna update, small update. Like, and it was kind of hard to get that in, and it wasn't on there for a while. It's just something when you update the step 256 after that, and I think they did add that. I think you have to update. You then again have to update something in Cabal that coincides with that. Every time I got stuck on that, I was missing things. And then after the 256, I just put in my own notes. I just Cabal update again, and then I Cabal build, and then it successfully builds a lot of the time. I'm not saying you guys have not tried that, but just in case, I wanted to throw that in there.
I can see that.
Okay.
You sound like you're talking through a bit crusher right now, by the way. I'm not sure what's up with the sound, but we got you.
But it's doing, it's the 256. Yeah, what is that? It's like, let me find
I'm
that.
pretty sure it's when they added the library to be compatible to use like the Bitcoin elliptical curve, and just to make it more bridgeable to intro, well, whatever. I just make it more bridgeable. So after that, interoperability, so I usually just update after that.
Okay.
That's
Cool.
correct. Yeah, it's like a forward-looking change, but it requires a new library. And the whole purpose of it is to give us a basically, is that called an encryption algorithm?
I believe so. I know it's the elliptical curve.
Yeah, I need to check my language there, but yeah, it gives us a different option for associating key pairs. That's going to be really powerful when it comes to bridging to other chains. And that was a big breaking change. Was that a change at the start of node 8, or did that come earlier than that?
You're dead on. It was right after node 8, 100%. That's when it came in. You're dead on.
Okay. Okay. So it could be that, but let's do a 30-minute speed run and see if we can get the executable running on Faizan's machine. How does that sound?
Yeah.
Let's do it. All right, I'm going to stop sharing. Faizan, you good to share?
Yes, I'm sharing the screen.
Awesome.
And I'm looking for the link. For those.
You need the link that I had on the screen a few minutes ago?
Well, just the documentation to get that. Yeah, exactly. You had it up on the screen. Yeah.
Yeah, I got you. Here, and actually, I'm going to give you just the link to Cardano node GitHub, just so you can see, like, everybody can see how to navigate. So you could start here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is my screen visible?
Looks great. Yeah. And so there's this obtaining the node should be a little bit above where you are right now. A little bit up.
And you're just in the README.
Yeah,
It
exactly.
seems like, it seems like they did
Sure.
move a lot of the documentation into.
It's been getting better and better. And so scroll down just a tiny bit underneath overview. The next heading is obtaining Cardano node. And we want to go to the executables. So click on where it says release notes.
Yeah, a little scroll a little bit down.
Yeah.
Oh,
Now
okay.
you've got a decision to make about which version you actually download. Look at the note here under 8.2.1-pre. It says this release is only recommended for use on the Sancho net and public test environments at this time, not recommended for mainnet. For anybody who's not familiar with it, Sancho net is where all of the Voltaire era functionality is going to be tested. And so SIP 1694 is starting to be implemented and people can test it there. We are working on test environments for this course. So actually, for the purposes of this course, you could go with 8.21 if you wanted to. Okay. Or sorry, 8.2.1. But also it says pre-release.
Yeah,
You don't have to use this. We should also do a deep dive. Did anybody see the Sancho Net website that went live over the weekend?
Oh, I'm looking.
That's another thing we got to look at together. But that would take us on a detour from our fire drill that we're running right now.
Yeah, we got a fire drill going. Let's get that.
Keep
What
going.
they call
This is another pre-release. Keep going. Okay, latest 8.1.2. Best practice, I would recommend using this one. Okay, you can always go back and experiment later if this works, but this is what I'd recommend.
Yeah.
You go down a little further, just past the change logs, there's the assets. So now you just choose your operating system. and you get the one you need.
And so this is a tar.gz, like that, you know, I mean, I'm pretty brave, but it still gives me a little bit of like,
Yeah.
we'll figure it.
It's a zip file for Linux.
Okay. And Faizan, I think you're on like just a straight distribution of Linux. Like you're not doing the Windows WSL thing. Is that correct?
No. Yeah, I am directly on the Linux system.
Okay, cool. So let us know when it's downloaded. I'm gonna ask like .tar.gz files on Windows WSL.
The download is done.
Okay, cool. So let's let's look at your, if you start up your live code or code VS Code, and then we can look at your folder structure and see where we need to put it. I mean, it may be that you may just turn it on and then the script knows where to put it. But I would think you would want to put it somewhere near your folders. Does it matter? Does anyone know? Or you could just double click on it and find out what happens. But I would like to see what you've got installed. Like, will it uninstall stuff? Who knows what the script will do? Yeah, what happens if you just double click it?
Nothing.
Nothing. Okay. Anyone know how to unzip files on Linux? You know, maybe go into the command line, and there's probably a.
Oh, you can extract too. Yeah, just extract.
Oh, there it is. Nice. Thanks, Dag.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I was on my command line.
Okay. Looks like it's doing something. And I wonder if we want to delete. Oh, looks like you got a bunch of stuff open. Yeah, clear all that. I don't know why that happened.
Yeah, the system is a bit lagging. It will just be open.
I'm gonna do this myself. Let's see what happens. I maybe break some stuff. It's starting up.
And Dagwell's putting in the chat how you can extract a file from the terminal line. It just depends on which approach you like the best. You probably don't need Visual Studio Code for this step.
Yeah, I suppose just in the terminal, like doing your ls commands just to see which the folder structure. Yeah, exactly. Do it. So do we know, do we have some ideas as to where it needs to launch from? Like, should we put it in like in our home directory? That's what I'm thinking. Just drop it in your.
That's the most important question. Okay, so now you're gonna have this executable file, but if you want to be able to type Cardano node or Cardano CLI from your command line, that executable has to be somewhere where it will be found when you type those commands. And
Okay.
that's the hardest part of what we're going to do right now.
Hey, I wanted to add also, I would like to help also, but I'm driving right now, so I have to take the car to the garage. So I'm here to listen, but yeah.
What
Good
are
luck.
you talking about?
That's brilliant.
What are we talking about?
Good question. My
Dad's
daughter's
just
with me here
randomly
too.
talking about stuff.
I know. Stop ratting in the background, kid.
Yeah,
Oh man,
that's who we're building for.
that's right. That's right. That's awesome.
I can, Faizan, on your screen, I can still only see Visual Studio Code.
There we go.
Hello, hello guys.
Hey,
Yeah, the system got stuck and I got exited automatically.
Oh, what happened? It just exited?
Yeah, I got exited automatically.
Let's try to unzip it. Did it unzip anything? Because we could try to find it in your command line and then use that command line tool.
Yes, I have unzip it. Yes.
Aha. Okay. So that
This in VS Code.
yeah. Look at your folder structure there in VS Code. It's just you don't actually need to do this. You could do it in the terminal, which is oh, okay. Yeah,
this works.
Okay, here we go. Yep.
Yep.
Would you open it in the Cardano node? You'd want to open it in the folder above it, maybe. Oh, this is interesting though. Okay, so this is everything that was in the zip file. I don't know what Beck32 is. CLI node share, submit API, Cardano topology.
The directory we're in right now, Cardano node -8.1.2, this has already been unzipped, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, good. So really our work, we're in good shape here. And actually, I think this will be easier. Can we do this from a plain terminal window, Faizan? Looking at it in VS Code is just going to make it a little more. It just adds some things we don't need.
Yeah.
All right. So now you know you've got this directory, and this is the key thing. Like you can ls in this directory, and we could see all the contents of it, right?
Let's check it out. Yeah.
Right. And so there it is. There's the Cardano-node executable. Fine. The thing that makes this a little bit more complicated than, say, downloading the Zoom executable is that the other files in this directory are dependencies of Cardano node and Cardano CLI. So for example, when you see like, what is that Bec32? Oh, that's kind of, think of that as like a sub program that Cardano node is going to need to look at in order to use Cardano node. Okay. So it's not enough in this case just to take the Cardano node file itself and put it in some executables folder. Okay, that is where what we're doing is a little bit different. So there's two approaches you can take, and I'd like to take the easier one for now. Okay, and this is actually how I do it. When I download the executable, this is the approach I take. What we're going to do is just add the directory that you're currently in to your path. Okay, so just do CD to go back to your home directory. And then just, first of all, can you type Cardano -node space -- version? Just so we can double check that nothing is installed or what. Good. I was hoping we would see that. That means, right, there's no Cardano node on your path. Now do echo $, and then all caps path.
What after $?
$, and then path. Yeah. PATH. Perfect. Okay, so what's path? These are whenever you write an executable, the name of an executable essentially on your command line, these are all of the directories that it's going to look through to try to find that executable. And if the Cardano node 8.1.2-Linux is on your path, then your computer's actually going to find the Cardano node executable and you're going to be up and running. One of the reasons I like this approach is it makes it really easy the next time you upgrade Cardano node to change the version you're using. Okay, because maybe you'll download version 8.2.1 someday, and you'll want to use that version instead. Then you'll be able to go back to your path and just change which directory is on your path. And now you'll be using the updated version of node. Okay, so this makes it pretty easy to manage your different versions. This is not the only way to do this. Okay, but I think it's a really approachable way to kind of control which version you're using. Any questions about that?
Nope.
Okay. Sorry, and I need to, there we go. I just want to be able to kind of guide you through this here.
Is a path it's a file on the computer somewhere?
Path. So Linux and any Linux-based system, so Mac OS actually works the same way as this too. There are a couple of built-in variables that are going to be on any Linux system. Okay, so usually when we define variables, we get to choose what they're called and how to use them. But out of the box, Linux is going to come with this variable called all caps path. And it always serves the same purpose. Okay, it's the list of directories where the system should look for executable files.
Okay.
All right, and it makes it possible now to use any number of those. And it's good to have various versions of that. So the way to update your path, there's also a few ways to do this. But I think the best way, and to help you kind of get a real feel for how to, like, one of the best things about Linux is you control it completely, right? You can go as deep as you want to in terms of how to customize your Linux system. And it's a nice thing to be able to do. And one of the first things everybody should learn is how to navigate their bash RC file. Okay,
That's
so let's
what I'm doing.
try this.
Yep.
Type here, I'll type it in the chat, Faizan, just to keep it simple. Type cat. Autocomplete is really annoying in this case. Bash, and then the file is .bash rc from your home directory. Okay, and let's just this. Yeah, we're gonna look at it. So just press enter so we can see what's currently in there. And look, here's a bunch of stuff, right? Now, do you see the word path anywhere in this file? Yeah. Okay, you got an LD library path. That's kind of interesting. Anything else? Okay, package config path. Okay, those are the only ones. So you don't have any additions to your path in your bash RC file. And that's fine. That's actually good. That's what we'd expect. So now what we want to do is open your bash RC file so that you can edit it. You could do this directly in the terminal with like Nano or your favorite editor. So try Nano, N-A-N-O, and then .bash RC. Okay. Cool. And just scroll to the bottom of this file. And what we're going to do here is add another export line at the bottom. So type export. And then all caps path equals $ path.
In quotes or anything?
Yeah, put that in quotes. Yeah. And I forget exactly what the path to his Cardano node directory was. So let's make sure, first of all, that you have the administrative rights to edit this file. So now type or press Control-C, or sorry, Control-O, my fault. Yeah, press enter. Good, so that's fine. And then obviously we're not changing the path yet. We're just saying that the path is the path. But we need to go out of Nano, so Control-X for just a moment. And then LS again, because what was the name of that directory exactly? It's Cardano, yeah, just copy that. Cardano-node-8.1.2-Linux, great. And then now go back into that bash RC file. And what you're going to do is inside of those quotes before the $ path, right before it, go to the beginning of the quotes. Yeah, and right there. Yep. And just paste that directory name. Great. Now put a colon in between that new directory and the $, and no space. And finally, we just need to tell it like where this directory actually is. So now go back to the beginning of those quotes, and before the Cardano word, add $,
Yeah.
home, all caps, /. And that should work. So you see what we just did there? We set, so the colon says it's basically like the append operator. So we're saying take your path and add this new directory to your path. Let's see if this works. So save this by writing Control-O and then enter. Control X to leave. And now you can you have two options here. You can close the terminal window and open it again, or you can type source and then space .bashrc. Cool. Now try Cardano-Node version.
Oh, here we go, dudes.
Make sure you got that's how people would say it where I live, Cardano. But we need an R. Just
Okay.
add an R to Cardano. You got it. Yeah. Here we go. That's it.
What?
Version 8.1.2, ready to go. Try it for Cardano CLI as well. Cardano-CLI -- version. Bang.
I'll be darned.
Now keep in mind, if you ever download a different version, all you have to do is go into your bashrc file and just change the path so that the directory of your new version of Cardano node is the one that you want to actually be using. And the beauty of this approach is that you can have on your computer a bunch of different versions of Cardano node, all in different directories. And let's say maybe I want to be able to use the old Cardano node 1.35.7 for some reason, right? And there are actually reasons you might want to do that. We'll talk about those later, right? But you could just have all of these different versions in different directories. And whenever you want to change which version you're using, you go into your bashrc, you change that path to which directory you want to be using. And just like that, you'll be using that version of Node.
So now the trick is to get it configured and up and running. And
now we got to run it. That's right.
So I just typed in the chat, this is my run command. And Faizan, we'll just have to track down like where your typology.json file is, where your production DB is, your node socket, and you may need to put a node socket on your path if you don't have it on there. And same with the config. Like we just have to get all those things down. And we could do it, yeah, we could do it tomorrow or as a sort of a homework assignment.
Let's beat the clock. Let's get it running in the next 4 minutes. We could do this.
Nice. Okay.
Do it.
All right.
One comment about
Take
what
Take
James
that
said.
command and put it in a text file for now. Everything Newman just shared.
One comment about James said is that one thing that I use a lot is like do a function to export the config files, let's say for preboot or preview. And when you are in the command line, you can call that function and export the config files that you want to use. That's very useful too.
All right, I actually, that's a great script that people should have. But yeah, open up that configurations directory at the top of your VS Code. And what is go inside Cardano? Do you see pre-prod? I think these files are deprecated. I think. Does anybody know if those would be up to date? I don't think they are. If we want to run pre-prod, so let's quickly download the latest config files. Augustine, do you have that one line script for downloading the pre-prod configs available? There's a way just to do it, but you can also just download them from the website.
Yeah, let's find them.
Config files. Yeah.
config, it's downloads. It's right. It's in downloads and technical specifications. There's just below Docker image. And
Oh,
then they've got,
Does he have them
uh,
already?
yeah, here you go. It's just at this link. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah. So, right, any network you want to use, our goal is to use pre-prod for this course, but obviously you can grab any number of other ones. So scroll down, there it is.
That's the one, yeah.
Those 8 files right there, you could just right click on each of them and let's just save them to a directory. Right, that is the whole file.
So which directory do they go in?
Right, well, they could go anywhere because when we run our Cardano node command, we're going to point to that directory.
Right.
So let's maybe make a new directory here. That's totally fine. And call it pre-prod or pre-prod-config if you want to.
Yeah. So mine, just FYI, is in a Cardano folder in my home. You know, if I just type CD, my home folder, and then Cardano, and then a pre-prod config, and then I got those things. Plus
And
a config.
The nice thing about keeping them separate is when you upgrade your node, you could just still use your old config files.
Okay.
But this is fine. As long as they're all in the same place, we should be able to make short work of, oh, shoot. Okay, it is noon. I can hang on for a few minutes. If anybody's got to run, see you tomorrow. But I think we're like 2 minutes away.
Yeah. Oh my God, this is exciting. Okay, so he's right mouse clicking on each one. Keep going, Faizan. Stay focused, stay on target.
Notice how that Conway Genesis file has basically nothing in it, but as the Voltaire era hits, it's actually going to start to have some things. Okay, so now you've got this config file. That's great. We don't need to touch those, but we do need to know the path to these files. Okay, so now go back to your text editor where we were actually stay here for just a second. Make a directory back in your file explorer. Sorry about that. Right here, just make a new directory called DB.
Yes.
Or maybe call it pre-prod DB. Right. Fine. So that's going to be our DB folder, and it's arbitrary. That can be called anything. Okay. Now let's go back to your text editor. And we need to change lines 3, 5, 7, and 13 to match the paths to each of these files, right? So instead of home Cardano pre-prod config, you want that path right there to be Cardano node 8.1.2-Linux / pre-prod config. Okay, so on line 3, can you copy that path by right-clicking on it?
Nice. There it is. Check that out. Nice. And does it matter if you use the little squiggly or home? I don't think so.
The tilde, yeah, it's just a shortcut to whatever your home directory is. So either way works. Yeah. And then put a slash.
Yeah, I could config.
And it looks like the R is missing. It says pre-pod, but that's okay. You could just type pre-pod config. We're moving quick. -config. slash, and what's the name of the file? Jump into that directory for just a second. And what's the name of the config file in there? Config.json. Perfect. So that's what we want. Great. Now on line 3, take everything before the file name. Go back to that text editor. On line 3, take everything before the word topology and just replace it with that path you're using on line 13. You can copy directly
Yeah,
from
just
line
have to
13.
copy. Yeah.
Which path should I paste here?
Go to line, yeah, delete that. Great. Now go.
Yeah,
here.
you got it. You got it. And
But
to
we
do that with,
need- do you see line 13?
Yeah.
Everything before the word topology should match line 13 exactly.
it looks like it.
And you need prepod config after the Linux directory. You see it there?
Yeah.
Grab that. Yep. Right there. Perfect. Okay. Now we have to change lines 5 and 7. And notice that these are going to be exactly the same, except that line 7 has node.socket at the end of it. This is going to be the path to your prepod DB directory that you already have. Okay. So we want the path to that directory right there. Yep. Yep. And then slash prepod DB. Okay. Now just copy that. Line 5, everything you have on line 5 as the database path.
Not that far.
Yeah, not the words database path, just the file path itself. Perfect. That goes before node.socket on line 7, because that's the path to your node.socket.
No, not.
Delete that, undo that. You see how node.socket is the end of line 7? Highlight the entire path that goes before node.socket.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. From there to the tilde. That works.
Yeah, that'll go, and then delete.
Yeah.
Or backspace. There you go.
And just put a slash in front of home.
And then, yeah.
All right.
Then,
Now just get rid of the blank lines in this command because they'll confuse your terminal window. There you go. This should work.
okay, but there's a prepod DB on line 4. There's a slash that's missing.
Oh, you're right. Good one.
Where?
Prepod -DB, and then there's a folder. Yeah.
There you go.
There you go. And
This
I feel pretty good about that. Yeah.
All
Should I CD into the folder?
Nope, you don't have to because Cardano node is in your path now. Perfect. This should just work.
Yep. Dun dun dun. Oh my goodness.
We're running.
Yes. It's gonna take a minute to download the database, right?
Right. Exactly. But you're
for it.
working. Congrats, man. That's good.
That's so awesome.
Thanks a lot, guys. And it was really easy.
It was easy, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was not easy.
Okay, so I'm putting in the chat here in Zoom lesson 102.1 because you just got step 4C complete. And now you can follow step 4D to check your status of your node, okay? So you're updating this thing, but your goal is to know when you are 100% synced, and those steps are in lesson 102.1 at the very end. Okay.
Yep. Thanks a lot.
Give it a try. If you run into problems, drop into Discord or bring the questions tomorrow. But that's a great step, man. Way to go.
Yeah, man. I dig it. That was so much fun. Thanks, y'all.
Good. Well, the fire drill took 12 minutes instead of 4, but that's still pretty good, right?
Still pretty good.
Thanks to everybody who stuck around. See you tomorrow. Same time, same place. Cheers, y'all.
Bye, y'all. Ciao.